Hello everyone. Back again with film recaps. In this video, I'm going to recap one of the horror thriller films from 2025, titled The Woman in the Yard. Before we get to the storyline, I'd like to wish everyone a happy and great day. Without further ado, let's get straight to the storyline. The movie opens with a man named David recounting his recent dream to his wife, Ramona. Their house was finally complete, the decorations were done, and the yard was covered in her favorite flowers, irises. He claims that they, along with their 2 kids, were having the best days of their lives, and all that was required was a name for this perfect house. He asks Ramona about it, but she doesn't have one, and they simply end the conversation by cuddling with each other in bed. It turns out that Ramona is watching the video of them on her phone, reminiscing about their past. She tries to rewatch it, but her teenage son, Taylor, suddenly arrives and informs her that the power is out. He wants her to call the electric company, to which she agrees. After he leaves, Ramona carefully gets out of bed, revealing a broken foot that forces her to use crutches. She quietly prays for strength, before going to greet her little daughter, Annie. Taylor, on the other hand, goes outside to play with Charlie, and then feeds the chickens in the barn. It also becomes clear that the family lives in the same house David had described in the opening scene. After collecting the mails, Taylor returns inside to feed Charlie, but notices the dog food is out, so he gives it regular food instead. He then tries to prepare some breakfast, but the gas stove isn't working, and the matchbox is also empty, forcing him to head to the attic. Taylor rummages through his dad's belongings there, and eventually finds a lighter. Meanwhile, Ramona is contemplating whether she should take her pills, but eventually decides against it. Her phone's battery is also out, which means she can't call the electric company now. Shortly after, she joins her kids in the kitchen, who are busy preparing breakfast. Even little Annie tries to help by cutting some butter, but Ramona quickly snatches the knife away from her. The family then has breakfast, during which they share some laughs, but the dog suddenly vomits and ruins their peace. This forces Taylor to chain it outside, while little Annie volunteers to clean the mess up. While all of this is happening, Ramona is suddenly lost in her thoughts, haunted by visions of a car accident involving her husband David. But she quickly snaps out of it when Taylor rushes back, and says, "There's a woman in the yard." Here Ramona is stunned to see the woman dressed in black from top to bottom, calmly sitting on a chair. Charlie also starts barking aggressively, so Ramona tells her kids to stay inside, while she goes out to talk to the woman. She soon approaches her, and calls out to her multiple times, but receives no response. Ramona thus goes a bit further, and the woman finally begins muttering something. With a scary voice, she questions how she ended up here. The woman then starts asking Ramona personal questions, like her name, and details about her house. Ramona grows uneasy, and urges the woman to leave, warning that her husband will be back any minute. But the woman sees through the lie, as she has already noticed Ramona's broken leg, and the wrecked truck nearby, meaning the couple got into an accident, and she guesses the husband didn't survive. The woman then mentions about her children, saying that they're ripe enough to eat. Horrified, Ramona threatens to call the police, but the woman cryptically says that today is the day, and that she has answered Ramona's calling. She suddenly reveals her bloodied hands, and a horrified Ramona realizes the woman slaughtered all their chickens, sending her fleeing in panic. She rushes to the garage, jumps into her Jeep, and frantically tries to charge her phone to make an emergency call, but the vehicle just won't start. Meanwhile, Charlie is still barking, so the woman conjures a shadowy demon that quickly silences the dog. Inside the house, the kids spot their mom running from the mysterious woman and realize something is wrong. Taylor thus decides to step outside to confront the woman, but a panicked Ramona rushes in. She quickly locks the doors, and makes up a story that the woman probably wandered off from a nearby nursing home, so they shouldn't get involved. Confused, Taylor asks why she was in the garage, and Ramona explains that she went to get a flashlight, just in case the electricity doesn't come back on. Moments later, Taylor sits by the window, keeping an eye on the woman outside, and suggests they should grab Dad's gun. Ramona immediately shuts down the idea, and orders him to go to his room. And when Taylor refuses,
Go!
The boy then goes to his room, but continues to keep an eye on the strange woman. Shortly after, Ramona approaches him, and promises to get the lady evicted as soon as the electricity comes back on. But then, Annie rushes in and reveals that the woman has moved even closer. Taylor and Ramona quickly look outside to check, and the sight leaves them both horrified. Later, we see the whole family gathered in the same room, with Taylor fast asleep. As the house falls into silence, Ramona suddenly remembers Charlie, and heads outside to find him. But the dog is nowhere in sight, and she instead finds his chain embedded deep in the ground. It seems like he's been buried. Horrified, Ramona nervously tugs at the chain. Turns out Charlie isn't attached to it anymore. The scene jumps ahead to Taylor waking up, and immediately throwing out different ideas to his mom. He suggests they drive to the neighbor's house to use their phone, and get this crazy woman removed as soon as possible. Taylor even offers to drive himself, citing his mom's injury, but she refuses, and says he's too young for that. The desperate boy then volunteers to go on foot, but she once again rejects the idea, and urges him to stay home. Frustrated, Taylor starts bouncing a ball against the wall, but the repetitive noise gets on Ramona's nerves. When she snaps, she instinctively grabs a nearby knife to settle the matter, but doesn't use it and instead throw the ball out the window. A furious Ramona then lets out her frustration by scolding her little daughter, who has been writing her alphabets incorrectly all this time. Seconds later, Ramona realizes her mistake, and gently hugs Annie to comfort her. But then, as they embrace, Ramona catches their reflection in the mirror and sees herself stabbing her daughter, which turns out to be only a hallucination. Just then, Annie lets out a scream from the kitchen, and it turns out that she stepped on something, and gotten a small cut. Ramona takes Annie upstairs to treat her cut, so Taylor uses this chance to grab an iron rod, and slip outside. But the first thing he sees is the blood-soaked chicken barn, which sends him running in terror to the garage. He jumps into the Jeep and desperately tries to start it, but the engine still won't turn over. As if that wasn't enough, now the woman is no longer sitting in her chair, and we see her walk beside the garage, sending Taylor into a state of full-blown panic. He scrambles to the window, and catches sight of the tarp on his dad's car blowing away, revealing the brutal wreckage from the accident. As he struggles to keep it together, he spots a shadow creeping toward the garage door. Meanwhile, the mysterious woman has returned to her chair, inching even closer to the house. Inside, Taylor confronts his mom, demanding to know why the Jeep won't start and who the woman really is. With Charlie missing for so long, he's also convinced that the dog is dead. Taylor now believes Ramona is hiding something from them, but she insists she's only trying to protect them. Furious, Taylor tells Annie they shouldn't trust their mom, accusing her of being on crazy pills. This sends Ramona into a rage, and she hurls a basket at him. She immediately apologizes for her outburst, but a fed-up Taylor barges inside his dad's room and locks the door. Taylor heads straight to his dad's locker and pulls out a shotgun, while his desperate mother begs to be let in. When he ignores her, she tries to reach him through the other door but slips and falls hard. Meanwhile, Taylor loads the only bullet he can find, and then locks the door behind his mom, trapping Ramona inside. He then urges Annie not to let their mother out before exiting the main door to confront the mysterious woman in black. Fueled by anger, Taylor points the shotgun directly at the woman, who has crept even closer to the house. He warns her to back off, and gives her 10 seconds before he pulls the trigger. But instead of showing fear, the woman rises from her chair, and takes off her veil, revealing her face for the first time. Taylor, trembling with rage, accuses her of killing his dog, and readies himself to shoot. But the woman speaks first, telling him he's confused. She claims that his mother has been lying to him, and that everything he's been told about the accident isn't the truth. Inside, Ramona desperately pleads with Annie to unlock the door, and the little girl finally gives in. But the moment Ramona steps out, she's confronted by an enraged Taylor, demanding to know what really happened the night his father died. With no way out, Ramona finally decides to tell the truth. She begins recounting the events of that night. She and David had gone out for a romantic dinner, having just moved into their new home. While David and the kids were happy with their new life, Ramona felt trapped and frustrated, longing for the career and passion she had left behind. She told David she wasn't happy staying there, and wanted to move again. Trying to calm her down, he responded that they can't move again, and they have to work through this situation together. But an angry Ramona, unwilling to listen, grabbed the car keys and stormed out. She immediately got behind the wheel and refused to let David drive. But while speeding down the road, she caught a glimpse of the same mysterious woman in the rearview mirror. This distraction caused Ramona to lose control and crash into an oncoming vehicle. In the present, Taylor is reduced to tears as he was always told that his dad was the one driving. Annie, meanwhile, is alone in a room when she finds Taylor's ball being thrown inside the room. The dark shadow then begins moving things like the chandelier, and even closes the door. But it is only when Annie notices the terrifying shadow, she screams. Here Taylor and Ramona witness how the mysterious lady is wreaking havoc, as she knocks over every object in the room. She also grabs the nearby knife, but it suddenly falls when Taylor yanks the curtains shut. At this point, the family learns that they need to go somewhere dark, so they rush to the attic, as it's the only place devoid of light, where the woman can't reach. They somehow climb up, and manage to close the door. However, even there's still light, and the shadow grabs Annie by the leg. Fortunately, Taylor manages to block the source of light in the window, halting the attack. The family thinks they're safe for now and quietly huddles in a corner. But to their misfortune, as night falls, the rules seem to change. With the darkness now covering everything, the evil woman is no longer bound by the light, and begins to wander freely at her will, turning their brief relief into sheer terror. She arrives in the room, and begins knocking over different objects to scare the trio. Seconds later, they notice a figure in the darkness, so Taylor lights up his torch, and finds the woman's chair there. And then, the demonic entity appears and smacks the torch to the ground. A horrified Ramona quickly grabs a baseball club and swings it at the demon, but she's swatted away like a fly. Taylor is also thrown to the ground. Meanwhile, Annie manages to grab the torch and sits in a corner, and this is when the demonic woman starts approaching the little girl. She tells Annie not to worry, she won't harm her, and has come to take her home. In the background, we notice Ramona's shadow struggling to free herself from something. The woman then reaches a scared Annie, embraces her, and suddenly takes her away from there. In the aftermath, Taylor notices that his mother is back, and together, they rush down the attic to save Annie. They spot the flashlight flickering in one of the rooms, and Ramona decides to go alone to confront the demon. Before leaving, Taylor hands her dad's lighter, and she uses it to continue on her journey. Ramona follows her daughter's cries for help, and soon reaches a strange compartment that extends into a narrow path. But upon reaching the other side, Ramona is stunned to find her husband lying in bed, recounting the same dream we heard in the opening scene. For a moment, Ramona forgets everything and lies down next to him, but when she notices his tattoo in reverse, she freaks out. Ramona then looks around the room, and finds everything in reverse. And then all of a sudden, and then, when she regains consciousness, she shockingly finds herself in the woman's position, out in the open field. The other version of Ramona soon walks up to her, while the real Ramona asks how she got here. But then, the other version of Ramona ominously says today is the day, Ramona, while the woman in black struggles to remove her veil. When she finally manages it, she's suddenly back in the attic, now in the same spot where the mysterious woman had once stood, calling out for Annie. Ramona even finds herself repeating the same lines, assuring Annie that she's here to take her home, and that she shouldn't be worried. As soon as she grabs Annie, Ramona finds herself back in the room, holding her daughter tightly in her arms. Taylor rushes in moments later, and Ramona quickly urges him to take his little sister and get her to safety. After this, Ramona grabs a shotgun, and confronts the demonic woman, who had been lurking in the shadows all this time. Ramona demands that the evil entity leave them alone. But in a shocking turn, the woman claims she's here because Ramona has been calling her for a long time. She's implying to the regular prayers Ramona says every morning to ask for strength. The entity then reveals that Ramona threw away all the bullets, except for one, which indicates that Ramona was planning to self-delete, and that's why she needed the strength. Ramona vehemently denies this, but the woman keeps chanting today is the day. Upon hearing this, Ramona finally lowers her weapon, and asks if her kids will be okay. And so, the demon responds by showing their future, where they are living happy lives. This convinces Ramona that they're better off without her, so she gives in to the entity's demands. But she wants to see her children one last time, and the woman allows her to do so. Ramona then descends down the stairs, urges her children to go to the nearest neighbor's house. They initially refuse and ask her to come along as well, but Ramona forces them to go alone with just a flashlight in hand. After this, she climbs back to the attic, sits on the chair, and grabs the shotgun to self-delete. The entity also arrives, and holds the gun to her face to assist her, before disappearing. A few minutes later, the children return home, and Ramona staggers out of the room, revealing that she didn't go through with the ordeal. They then proceed to their house together, just as the power returns, and even Charlie reappears alive and well. After they enter the house, we see one of Ramona's paintings in her room. However, as the camera zooms, we see her name written in reverse, which makes us think that she may be in her fantasy world now. Okay guys, thanks for watching. See you again in the next video.